Welcome to today's podcast episode. Today we're going to talk about how we oftentimes underestimate everything that we have carried and why it's actually really important to honor our past selves with love, gratitude, and compassion. Hey, welcome to Like a Mom. This is a podcast where we prove that you don't have to choose between rocking it at home and building a thriving business. You actually get to do both. We're here to ditch the stereotypes, crush those limiting beliefs, and show you how the skills that you use every day that make you a great mom are actually the same ones that make you an incredible business owner. Let's dive into empowering conversations, practical tips, and plenty of inspiration and support to help you thrive in every part of your life. Because, like a mom, you're already unstoppable. Let's do this. This can sometimes be really hard, but it is so huge. If we all would just incorporate this into our life, I think we would find we are actually so much more grateful and loving and appreciative. Sometimes we get so hung up on all of the hard things and all of the could been, should beens, would have beens, and the things that went wrong, and we get so critical that we miss sharing the love and the joy and the compassion for that part of our story. I personally have experienced this a lot of times, as I know we all have. About 6 years ago, let's just say 6-7 years. My youngest kid is 9. So we had 3 kids and they have approximately a 32-month gap between all of their age. So I had 3 babies in diapers at one time. I specifically remember a time when everyone kept saying over and over, man, you have your hands full. You have your hands full. And we were knee deep in chasing the baby phase. We couldn't get them all in one place. So we would have to pull 2 in a wagon and push 1 in a stroller. Or if it was just one of us, we would have to put 2 in a wagon and then put one of them in a carrier that we were wearing on us, and then, pull the other 2. Our hands were full. In fact, we had more kids than we had hands, so we couldn't even actually get hands on all 3 of them at one time. And people would oftentimes always say, everywhere we would go, man, your hands are full. I used to get irritated by it because I didn't realize it at the time, but what I was getting so irritated by was they weren't even seeing the whole picture. They were seeing 3 babies and that was it. But the reality behind the full hands that they were seeing was so much more than what met that surface eye. We had 3 babies that were within 32 months of age. That's a lot. That's a lot to have diapers and wipes and bags and clothes, and they need help feeding and they can't take showers and baths by themselves and all of those things. It was a lot. It was also a blessing because they were all so close in age that we had diapers. And we had toys that they all just played with and just used. And they were all kind of in the same stage at the same time, which kind of made it easier. However, it was still hard. We were 2 young adults that were finding our way in this great big wide world of living. We were trying to achieve that American dream, and the everything that we had been told was what we needed to do to be successful. Having the house with the babies and the cars and the career and everything that they tell you that you need to do to be successful. We were trying to do that. We were also trying to build a marriage without a clear example of what a healthy marriage looked like. I came from a divorced home and I do not remember my parents married. He wouldn't necessarily say that the marriage that he witnessed for the time period that he had it was anything that he wanted in his marriage. We didn't have any idea exactly what a healthy marriage looked like. We had people, our grandparents, that we kind of looked at as like thinking that they probably had a healthy marriage at some capacity, and that was the only example that either of us really had in our life that we were able to kind of pull from. And so we were learning how to build a healthy marriage and have a healthy marriage without having any blueprint for it. We also, at this time, he was growing his career as a teacher and a coach, and he was coaching cross country, which means that part of the year he was not home all the time. And I was running a business. That's a lot. That's a lot to run a business and be growing your career and have 3 babies in this whole house that needs a thing. And we were trying to do that, of course, successfully, because that's what we do. Like, the two of us, like, if we're gonna do anything, it better be successful. We are overachievers. We want to be like good at everything. And so we were trying to do this career thing that the world told us that we needed to do, that thing that we were supposed to have picked that we were gonna do forever, and we were trying to do this the right way so that we could achieve success. We also encountered a couple cancer diagnoses. One was directly with my husband, and the other was with a family member outside of like the two of us. That's hard in itself. That is a lot. The mental and emotional toll that you go through when like you hear it could be cancer or it is cancer or, whatever, is a lot. Especially when you are raising these young kids, trying to do this career. You're young, you're just starting out, you're just trying to create success, and then boom, you have this health thing that happens, and that's terrifying. Our youngest daughter, when on her first birthday, we gave her a cake like you would normally give anybody, on their first birthday. And in that cake was eggs. And that cake in particular started the downfall of a couple month-long nightmare of her having this rash all over her, this diaper rash, like on her face, on her body, scream, cry, miserable, not happy, like something was wrong. And we were going to the doctor, and they were like, oh, this is eczema. And I was like, no, this is not eczema. This child had no skin issues prior to now. No, this is not eczema. We kept getting sent to dermatologist after dermatologist, and I was like fighting and adamant that that is not what it was. And then we finally got a referral and got into an allergist, and she was telling us that it was eczema, and she was wanting to give us this trial cream. And she sat there and told us, I was pushing for allergy testing. My mom has allergies, and I just assumed it was probably laundry detergent or something like that. And I was really pushing for allergy testing. And she said to us in that room, no, we're not going to do allergy testing because you don't want that. And I was like, yes, I do want that. I've been to doctor after doctor, and I do want an allergy test because I have an entire bag of creams that we have tried to put on her that do not work. Nothing is getting better. It does not work. And she proceeded to say, no, you don't want that, because if it comes back with a diagnosis of a food allergy, I'm going to prescribe you an EpiPen, and you won't be able to go anywhere or do anything without it. That was terrifying, because in my mind, I had never even thought of food allergies. I had only thought of skin allergies. Finally, she woke up one morning, and her face was like really swollen, and her eyes were really bad. And we put her in the car, and we drove over to our pediatrician, and he was like, oh, this is an allergy. And he called an allergist, and he got us in, and that allergist immediately tested her, and it was food allergies. And all of the food that she was allergic to had been the food that we were giving her. Everything she was eating had this food in it. And so that was a huge process, emotionally, mentally, everything, on top of everything else that we were doing. We had moved to a different state. We didn't have a support system. We didn't really know anybody. And in Florida, you have hurricanes. And so we experienced the hurricane life and packing babies and leaving, traveling to stay in a hotel. We had our hands full, but we had more than our hands full. We had our entire heart full, our entire mind full, our entire soul. Everything was being stretched beyond capacity. And so when people would tell me, "Woo, you have your hands full," it always irritated me because I knew just how full I was. Looking back at that now, I can't help but feel so much love and gratitude for all of that went on. It hasn't always been that way. I used to look back and I used to get really frustrated and really irritated. Like, I could get really irritated by the saying, "you have your hands full," just by thinking of someone saying that to me. I could get really irritated and mad and angry about all of those things. All of those things really kind of created a rocky situation in my marriage, and things were rough. Like, things got really rough. We didn't know what we were doing, and then we had all this other stuff, and like, it was adding on top of everything, and we had our own personal dreams and our own aspirations, and everything was just like combusting at once. I can look back and I could feel all of those frustrated, angry, irritated, sad, like all of those feelings. And then recently I looked at it from a different perspective. Instead of looking at it from the perspective of what I felt when I was in it, I looked at it from the perspective of looking back with love. So many times we judge our past selves. We think, "I should have done more. I should have done different. I should have been better. I should have known she had a food allergy and I should have not been giving her that food. I should have made them do the allergy testing. Like, I should have." We get so judgmental and we get so critical about what we did or we didn't do, or the things that we experienced, or what happened or didn't happen. And the truth is, that version of ourselves, they did the best that they could with what they had. At that time, I was doing the best I could in my marriage, not knowing how to be in a marriage, let alone knowing how to be open and vulnerable outside of my own like baggage and trauma that I was carrying around from abandonment from my childhood, let alone like the stress and the anxiety of the world. I was doing the best I could at that period of time in all of those situations and scenarios. And so instead of judging her, I now look back with love. She kept going even when it was so hard. She kept going even when she woke up and was just so like tears were coming and she just didn't even know if she could. She kept going when she had no idea what was even going to happen today, or she had no answers for how to even fix it. She showed up when she was so exhausted. All the late nights of getting up with the kids that couldn't sleep, and the kids in the bedroom floor because they didn't sleep in their bedroom, and having gone from 6 a.m. to past midnight and then had to get up in between, and then the stress and the mental load and the emotions on top of everything that were just draining her. She got up. She showed up even when she was exhausted. She was carrying so much more than anyone could ever see, and she never gave up. She just carried it all. She did the best she could. She showed up. She handled what she could handle, how she could handle it. And eventually, things worked themselves out. And she just kept going. She just kept growing. She just kept raising. She just kept doing. And she just did it with such strength. And she just gave love to everybody that she could give love to, even though she was so exhausted. So instead of looking back and judging her about how she should have known that was food allergies, or like she should have known that she was like holding back in her emotions out of self-protection and it was affecting her marriage, she should have known that she should not have moved across the state because there was a load of shit coming down the pipe and there was going to be no one around that she could lean on for support. No friends, no nothing. She didn't know. She could not have known. So I can't sit here today and look back and judge her for any of that because she didn't know any of that. That's what I know today. And through all of that process, that's how we lose our personal power. We lose our personal power when we sit in and criticize ourselves currently or our past selves. Sometimes days are hard. Sometimes it's all we can do. Sometimes we can't get an answer. Sometimes we can't figure it out. And instead of criticizing ourselves now or in our past, we can actually just have gratitude and compassion for ourselves. You did the best you could today. You did the laundry today. You didn't get to the dishes, and that's good enough. They'll be there tomorrow. Sometimes gratitude and compassion for your now and for your past is huge in making sure that you are claiming your personal power. Regret is a huge thief of your personal power. If you are sitting and ruminating in regret of what you did or you didn't, or how you did, or what you should have, or what you could, or if you didn't, or you wish you, or any of that, you have lost your personal power. You have given away your personal power to negativity. You did the best you could then. You're doing the best you can now. Maybe it didn't happen like the way you wanted it, or it didn't turn out the way you wanted it, or you have information now on the other side of it that you didn't have then, but you can't judge yourself for then based off what you know now. So there's really no need to sit in regret, because when you're sitting in regret, you're just putting yourself back in that place that you ultimately are wishing you weren't at or didn't happen. And you've lost your personal power when you sit in regret. Things had to be the way they were. Things were the way they were. You learned lessons. They are a chapter and a purpose in your story. You can't sit and wish things had been different or wish, you could change or whatever the past. But what you can do is be grateful for what it was and what it gave you. I personally wish that I had a relationship with my dad. I wish that he didn't disappear, but I can't sit and wish for that or hold on to that because it had to be the way that it was. And it was the way that it was, and it has taught me so much. And so today I sit and I look and I think about all of the things that it has taught me. I am actually so much stronger than I ever knew. I actually don't have to be dependent on needing somebody to love me. I can love myself. And I would have never known that had I never experienced that. And I would have never known that had I sat in the regret and wishing that things were different, instead of looking at the positives of what did I get from this? What did it teach me? What it taught me what kind of parent I don't want to be. And that's huge. If that's what it taught me and I can be for my kids what I didn't have, then I'm grateful for that. We reclaim our power whenever we can love our past selves. She got me to where I am today. She showed up. She did the thing. She had the hard times. She experienced all the stuff. She was exhausted. She did all of that for me today. So how could I not love her today? You have to love your past self and you have to love your current self. You have to show compassion and love and gratitude for all the versions of yourself. That is where your power lies. Your personal power lies in you, in loving you now, in loving you yesterday, and in loving you tomorrow, no matter what. Practicing gratitude for every season, even the hard ones, because they all have a purpose. When you can have gratitude for the purpose, for the lesson, for the realization, for the experience, for the love, for the whatever it is, when you can have gratitude for that, it is huge. You are operating from a place of within you, within your personal power. You're not giving way to any of the exterior factors or things that could make you feel like a victim. I could feel like a victim that I don't have a relationship with my dad. But I'm grateful for the experience and the lesson that it taught me on how to be a mom, on how to be a parent for my kids. I am so grateful for that. And when I sit in the place of grateful for what I know and what I have and what I gain from it, I am sitting in my personal power. And if I sat in the other place, I would be sitting in a place of out of my personal power, in a place of more of like a victim. And you can't be a victim and have your personal power. You have to be one or the other. You have to get out of victim in order to have your personal power. You have to have compassion for what you didn't know. You didn't know it yet. Growth comes from learning, and we learn through everything. And so you have to have compassion and remember that where you are today and the way you're thinking about it today, you know today how that story ends. You know today how that feeling felt. Like you know today what she did not know then. So have compassion for her. Have compassion for her making the best decision she knows how to make, for showing up or loving or choosing whatever it is that she chose. Like, have compassion for her and the place that she's in. So I encourage you to think of a version of yourself from a tough season. Think of a version of yourself, a time period, something that you went through that like you oftentimes can find yourself playing more of the role of a victim rather than an empowered, like coming from a place of empowerment. And instead of critiquing her, what if you thanked her? What did she do right that you never have given her credit for? What were the lessons that she experienced, that she learned, that she lived through? Where can you give her love and compassion and gratitude? Where can you tell her thank you for showing up that day, even though it was so hard, because we are where we are today? Thank you for doing that thing. What if you talked to your prior version of yourself that was going through a tough season from a place of gratitude, love, and compassion? I encourage you to think about this. To get your notebook, get a piece of paper and a pen, and think about that, and just free write. Just write down just whatever comes to your mind. Doesn't have to be a complete sentence. It doesn't have to be like a complete anything. Just have a conversation with that prior version of yourself. Give her love. Give her compassion. Give her gratitude. Just write it down. Just rewrite the story that you've been telling yourself about that situation and love her. Back then, my hands were full. Today, my heart is so full of love and compassion and gratitude for that version of me that I can see from where I'm sitting today. I am so grateful for that younger version of me because she kept going so that I could stand here today and say this. So that I could share my story, share my experience, and help women regain their personal power to come out of a place of victim and stand in their truth and live a life that is fully aligned for them. If you are in a season where you are feeling stretched thin, please know that one day you will be able to look back and be in awe of how much you overcame, how it's different now than it was then. So until you can get to that point, be kind to yourself and love yourself through it, and trust that everything that you're doing right now is shaping the powerful, capable, and unstoppable version of you that is ahead. And when you get ahead, she's gonna look back at you today and be so grateful and thankful and full of love for what you are doing today and how you are showing up for her today. So if you are carrying more than people can see, if people are telling you you have your hands full and you know that it isn't just your hands that are full, your everything is full. You are at the top. You are at the capacity of max load in all sectors. Remember, you are so much stronger than you realize or those people that are telling you that even realize. So I really encourage you to stop right now and reflect back on your past self and your past story and a past situation. And then share with me or someone, what would you have said to her? What would you say to her today if you were coming from a place of love, gratitude, and appreciation? How could you love that past version of yourself today from where you're sitting at? Share it with me. write it down, share it with somebody else. Just start loving her. Just start giving her what it is that she deserves. And I hope that stopping and sharing love and compassion and gratitude for your past self and for your current self helps you remember to stay in a place of your own personal power so that you can create the thriving life that you are actually dreaming of. Thanks for hanging out with me on the Like a Mom podcast. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mom who's ready to thrive in life and business. Remember, you've got everything you need to succeed already inside of you. Keep going, keep believing, and know that you're doing amazing. Remember, being a mom isn't a limitation. It's your ultimate advantage. Until next time, keep thriving and shining like a mom.